Hello, Akash.
Hi, Luis.
Hello,
Hello,
let's,
everyone.
hello, Shiwei, hello, G, Bin Bin. Let's give a couple minutes for folks to join.
Okay. Is that Luis CNCF upstream?
Yes, let me bring up my, I keep forgetting them. I'm showing us CNCF upstream. Okay, let me.
Hey, folks.
Hello, Tori, Feynman. We're just giving 1 or 2 more minutes for folks to join. Let me, in the meantime, share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so I think we are 3 minutes after, so let's get started. All right, so thanks everyone. We were able to release RC4 last Friday, so thanks for all contributors. You can find the release on the, I provided a link. Akash provided a link on the Slack channel, and so again, it's really great to see these monthly milestones come to place. So thanks. Now there's a couple things we want to discuss today. There are a couple of open PRs, and then there's a couple of new features proposed that I'd like to discuss. That we'd like to discuss as well, get feedback, and so with that, let's get started. Thanks whoever is writing the name of the attendees. Appreciate the so let's look at the open PRs. So the first one is this one's been you're looking at upgrading Go to new version. Any updates here or?
Yes, so SafePR, I just want to use SafePR to leverage the integration test coverage profiling. And so basically, if you scroll down to the test section, and I have a comparison from the main and the fifth branch. So we just increased the coverage 1%, but we covered like more lines, like about like 600 lines, which is a lot.
I see. This is really cool, Bin Bin. Do you have
Yeah, but I have one concern is that if we should update to 1.20. Oh, 1.20.
to the 1.20 or
Yes.
what? What are the
1.20.
what is it? What concerns do you have?
Because I found that for Gatekeeper, its goal version is 1.18, and for notation is 1.19.
I see.
And if we upgrade to 1.20, maybe it's too new for all the dependency project.
I see. Do we know if Notary is planning on upgrading soon? Maybe that's a follow-up we can do with some folks from the Notary team.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bingming, do you mean the new release of notation?
Oh, I mean, if there is any plan on notation to upgrade Go version to 1.20.
Okay, maybe Shiwei can help to answer this.
Pardon?
Oh, Shiwei,
The
do
Go
you know
version.
if there is any plan for notation to upgrade Go version to 1.20?
I think it's already on to 1.20.
Maybe I checked the notation projects. Oh, it's still in 1.19.
For notation Go, it's the minimum version is 1.19, but it's a library, so it can support multiple Go versions.
Okay. So that makes sense.
So Notary already upgraded.
Yes, notation is already upgraded, and so as the ORAS.
Okay, so then that's good. And are there any? Do we know, like, if from any, like from ORAS or from notation, if there were major breaking changes that we should look for?
I don't think it says any breaking change.
Okay, so we don't. So then there's given that they're already moved. I think it's worth just basically getting parity with them, and I mean, hopefully our test coverage can give us any quick indication if there's any breaks.
Yeah.
All right, Binbin, is there do you need reviews from here? I think Akash just
I see
has a comment. So looks like you still need some time for this, and then we can march throughout the week.
Yeah. I'll take a look at it.
Cool. Thank you, Binbin. The other one that's going on, so the server rotation and cache unification we'll discuss. There is a dependent bot. When was this open? 2 weeks ago. And this is to bump GitHub.
Yeah, Luis, I think we discussed last week that we would hold off on this until some of ORAS and notation took support for this.
I see, yeah, that's right. Okay. And then Bin, we this week we reviewed on the pull request series your OPA engine and support Rego policy. Any updates here?
Yeah, I'm still addressing all the comments and the feedback from the meeting.
Okay. Okay. So for those that weren't able to attend the Monday review, might be going to take a look at some of the proposed changes here. It's a big change. Bin basically designed this in a way that it will be light up by specifically by a flag, but so it shouldn't break any previous behaviors. But in any case, it's good to have some eyes, additional eyes in case somebody, it's an interesting PR to look at. Okay, so those are the open pull requests. There's a couple others. But they're big sort of proposals and POCs from Akash. So with that said, let's see. Actually, before going into those, so the Ratify logo voting still ongoing. Feynman, have you had a chance to take a look at the poll, or if there's any feedback on the final proposals?
Hey, Luis.
Hi, Feynman.
Yeah, I think we are you mentioning the Ratify website domain, right?
I mean the domain and the logo. So Min sent in the Slack channel the 3 proposals, and I think we wanted to get any feedback from those from the community. Is there any update here?
For logos, I asked Min to help us add a horizontal and stacked text to that logo, but it is still under discussion.
Okay.
She helps us to add the text, the text with the specific font by ourselves. I think she is not able to help us to update the text, but only the icon is available to use right now. That is enough. So for the Ratify website domain, I think after 1 week poll gathered from the community, I think we reached the super major approval or super major vote. And I think ratify.dev is available to be chosen for.
Okay, so then we're going with ratify.dev.
Yeah, that's the answer. And I think we may need you, Luis or Sajid, to help us configure that after we are ready to launch the website.
Right.
Regarding the next step of the website, we may need to create a new repository under DaveLab organization and migrate the source code from our volunteers' personal account to our DaveLab organization.
Got it.
Yeah. Do I need? Yeah. Another follow-up question would be regarding this migration. You know, we will need to create a new repo. Do I need to submit an issue to ask maintainers to vote for this proposal, or is there any process we can follow?
I think let's start with a proposal, and then we can work from there. I mean, I would probably also encourage like others that have had more experience here. This will be the first time I do any of this. So so let's work on a proposal explainment on sort of a repo and all that, I'm happy to sit down with you, or well, to chat with you and sort of figure this offline, and then present this to the community.
Yeah, I think in other CSF or open source projects, writing an issue to ask community to vote for creating a new repo is very generic method.
Okay.
Community. Yeah. So I think I will create an issue to ask maintainers from Ratify to vote for creating this new repo.
Makes sense.
And we will also migrate the docs folder from the Ratify source code repo to the new Ratify website repo.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. So next RC5. So typically we've been trying to keep monthly releases. Since our last release was last Friday, the next proposed RC5 would land around June 9 or June 16. June 16 give us 5 weeks. So is June 16 reasonable date to target the next RC5? Any concerns with June 16?
Hi, Luis. Do we have the scope ready for RC5?
For RC5, the things that we're looking at are that are sort of in progress are adding the refactoring that Bin is working on for policy validation, and basically allowing enabling any Rego policy to be validated. We have the certificate rotation support that Akash has a proposal for, and we might be able to, depending on, we might be able to start adding some of the high availability. Now, yeah, so that's kind of the scope that we're looking at. Of course, if there's other feedback from other people, happy to hear that. Are there any high priority items that the team needs, we need to tackle?
Actually, Xinhe is also in this meeting. Xinhe, as I know that he's testing Ratify RC4, and he reported an issue about the certificate revocation. And according to the plan, I mean, this certificate rotation is important to get ready before, I think before early July. And also in RC5, we plan other things. I'm not sure, but based on current status, so the other feature planned are not, at least not required by Xinhe. So my point is that we needed to decide the version that Xinhe can continue to use, because he is testing based on RC4. But RC5, we introducing other things, and also maybe certificate revocation. Maybe we add too much for Xinhe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Yi. But before the certificate rotation, I think we in fact, we need to solve the certificate reload issue first. Is that correct?
Sorry, you broke a little bit at the end. Shinya, can you repeat?
Sorry. I mean, before we manage the Ratify cert rotation, before that we need to solve another issue that Ratify will try to reload the rotated cert on its server. Is that correct?
You mean if gatekeeper rotates their secret?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So if you so Akash basically create a proposal that includes both parts, both what happens if Ratify rotates certificate and what happens if gatekeeper rotates certificate. It would be good to listen to his proposal today to kind of gather feedback and see if these addresses the concerns. Does that make sense, Shinya?
It's fine for me. I think in the agenda we have a link to it. Is that okay? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and Akash also posted it in the message chat, meeting chat. Besides the gatekeeper rotation issue, Shinya, are there other issues that you found in your testing that that we would need, or you feel there are gaps?
Not found the issue yet. Maybe some feedback. I will summarize it later.
Okay, just as a reminder, just not to dig too deep into internal projects or customers or guys here. Let's try to keep this most as generic, Ratify capabilities and bugs and issues. So okay, we can discuss if there's any other feedback you have internally for any projects you might need.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll look. I wanna go next week. So if you have any feedback for things you would like to see for RC5, please let us know. We also are like we'll try to bring the backlog of the things, the more detailed backlog of the issues, the things that are we'll prioritize for RC5. But of course, if you see something missing there, or please bring it to our attention. The Slack channel is also a good way to raise any issues or any things that you would want us to prioritize for this next release. Okay, so with that said, Akash, do you wanna talk a little bit about your proposal for TLS certificate rotation?
Sure, sounds good.
All right, I'll stop sharing and you can take over. Or do you want me to present your doc?
Either is okay.
Okay, I'll present. I'll just click on it.
Okay, cool. So first off, thank you, Sinher, for reporting this issue. This kind of slipped through the cracks, but hopefully this design proposal can kind of start the discussion on how we want to solve this issue. But basically, one of the reported issues was that currently the Ratify pod inside the cluster does not pick up certificate rotation both from the gatekeeper side as well as from the certs that are generated on the Ratify side. And so this design discussion is to discuss what are the different options we have and some of the challenges that we're going to run into. So to first start off, I'll give a brief overview on the problem and kind of how things work currently. So currently we have Gatekeeper, which sends a external data request to Ratify. So in that scenario, Gatekeeper is the client and Ratify is the server. And because we have introduced mutual TLS support, both parties are responsible for verifying the opposing party's request or response. And that's basically done by using the opposing party's CA bundle and then using that bundle to verify. So Ratify needs access to Gatekeeper's CA bundle, and then Gatekeeper needs access to Ratify's CA bundle. And on the Gatekeeper side, the CA bundle and the TLS cert and key are generated on installation, or you can provide it manually. And the CA bundle is stored as a Kubernetes secret in the same namespace as Gatekeeper is deployed in. So that secret is well known, and the guidance from Gatekeeper is that any external data provider, which is Ratify, should mount that secret as a volume and then at a well-known path, and then the server can actually use that CA bundle during the verification process. So that's currently how Ratify does it. Ratify mounts the Kubernetes secret and then uses that when it instantiates the HTTP server in Go. On the other side, Ratify generates a CA cert bundle as well as a corresponding TLS cert and key. And that cert and key are used also during server instantiation for any response back to Gatekeeper. So there's basically three parts to this. There's the CA bundle from Gatekeeper, there's the TLS cert, and then there's the TLS key. So the main problem is that Ratify instantiates the server once, and that's during pod start. And it picks up these 3 files from disk. And then throughout the lifespan of the server, it doesn't actually re-look at anything that's mounted on disk. It just uses what's been loaded already. So we need to be able to support inside Ratify being able to first detect if there's been any changes to these certificates mounted on disk, replace these TLS certs with the new version of it, and then finally minimize the disruption to the actual servicing of the requests. Ideally, that would be none, but we'll discuss some of the challenges with that. So the first part of it is changing the Ratify server instantiation process to look for new certs that have been mounted on disk. So this can be done using the TLS configuration properties of the Golang SDK for the HTTP server. It exposes a custom configuration fetch function that you can use to basically define how you want those certs loaded. So we can implement one of those, and the most basic way, a basic solution to this would be to just have it read from disk every time. The obvious disadvantage there is that there's a lot of read ops, and this would essentially mean that every TLS connection that is created would result in 3 file reads from disk, which is not ideal given the number of connections that we are going to make. The second option, which stemmed from Binbin's idea, is to actually use the certificate, like a certificate watcher, based off of the file paths that these volumes are mounted in. And then using that cert watcher, we can just trigger an update to the using the same form of custom configuration fetcher. And this will eliminate the expensive read operations, which could pose a problem. This will, in tandem, both of these solutions will immediately avoid any sort of pod manual restarting that currently has to happen in order to pick up the certs. And it'll also, the second option is going to be the best solution for avoiding extra overhead. It should be a little bit more complex, but we already have a little bit of an advantage in that our pre-CRD configuration days, we were using a file watcher there. So we could maybe reuse some of that logic here, and hopefully that'll help. So those are the 2 ideas we have for solving it on the Ratify side. There is one more bigger problem that we have to deal with, which is kind of Kubernetes specific kind of secret mounting problem. So the way the flow currently works is that the Kubernetes secret from Gatekeeper is updated automatically via the Gatekeeper cert controller. So we can rely on the secret always being up to date, but there is a delay of between 60 and 90 seconds from when the actual secret gets updated to when the volume mount in the pod is updated. And this is an inherent limitation of Kubernetes. And I've linked an article discussing this issue. And one solution that other projects have used to get around this is to implement a special controller, which will watch for the changes to a specific secret or config map resource. And then in the reconciliation process, it'll add a custom dummy annotation to the pod that needs to be restarted. Well, not restarted, but forced to sync the latest volume mounts. So that should fix this problem of a 60 to 90 second delay, but that does require that we have to implement a custom controller and then kind of figure out how we would manage that as well. But the 60 to 90 second delay, I've done some testing. It's pretty noticeable. Any requests that come to Ratify during that time are going to obviously return a bad TLS cert error from the Ratify side. And similarly, when we generate our own certs on Ratify, if those get updated, we also store those certs in a secret, and that secret is also mounted in a similar fashion to how the Gatekeeper's secret is. So we have the same problem on both sides. So we need to watch both secrets to solve this issue. So that's kind of the high level overview and some of the different proposals we have. So some of the open questions are, how do we want to stage the work? Do we want to first solve the Ratify server instance issue, and then we will have the 60 to 90 second issue, but it'll eventually remediate, and then focus later on closing this gap? Or do we want to look for another solution based off of other suggestions people might have?
So for the 60 to 90 second downtime, are these requests completely dropped, or like do we have some sort of retry logic here?
So we don't have so in this scenario, because Gatekeeper is the server and then Gatekeeper is the client and then Ratify is the server, it'll immediately return a bad TLS connection error back to Gatekeeper, and it would be Gatekeeper's responsibility to retry if it had any sort of mechanism.
Got it.
Which, to my understanding, they don't do that right now. It results in a block, like a failed deployment error, as if any other verification scenario in Ratify failed.
I mean, I like the approach of fixing the sort of the generic the sort of the issue with the rotation and kind of having the 60 to 90 issue as a second problem to solve down the line. We could probably document that potentially, like, yeah, I don't know, like I feel like it's okay to tackle the first problem first, get to a place where we can actually do the file watcher for changes in the cert, and then tackle the 60 to 90 second delay. We might actually, like, I don't know if that would be acceptable for the preview, and sort of maybe get feedback there. What are other people's thoughts? Toddy, any opinion here?
No, I don't have any specific opinion. I need if there is anything I need to think about it, and what is the impact, can we have some times to review, or is that something that we need to make a decision today?
No, we don't need to make a decision, but I think that the decision making would be like how, like we will tackle both problems. I think the decision made is like how we want to prioritize this against other work. And so I know that the first problem, which is basically generic, getting a file watcher, that's something that we know it's high priority. Now the 60 to 90 second delay, is that something that we could potentially tackle next, or should we prioritize and have someone else? Like I think the input here would be how quickly we wanna, like when do we wanna deliver this, because both of them are good chunks of work.
What's the impact right now, in the sense that what does a customer see? How frequently do they rotate these certs, and when do they actually get hit by this? Do we know?
I have no idea.
That's what I'm saying, like potentially maybe get implement the first phase, which is the file watcher, and maybe get some feedback, and then see how critical it is to do the second.
No, I think the question is slightly higher order. Should we even do this, right? I'm trying to figure out, like, when does a customer hit this? I haven't understood yet. Sorry, Akash, I didn't follow the whole thing, doing multitasking, so my fault here. But roughly speaking, when does the gatekeeper CA get rotated? Like, is it every, is there some frequency in which this happens, or?
As far as I understand, it would probably be a manual thing. They would rotate the CA for whatever reason, compliance reason, and then as a result, the secret would be updated, but then Ratify would be misaligned. It doesn't have the correct version. So.
And what would currently, what do they have to do? They have to restart Ratify, or is there something manually they can do?
Yes, they have to restart Ratify.
That's it.
Yes.
So when they rotate the secret for Gatekeeper, do they need to restart Gatekeeper also, or?
No, Gatekeeper handles it on their end. So they have a controller that updates the secret, regenerates the TLS certain key that it uses in its own response request. So they have that handle on their end. There's no manual intervention required.
Today, how do we get the Gatekeeper key, by the way?
So we get the Gatekeeper CA bundle via a well-known Kubernetes secret that they've created. So we mount that well-known secret into the Ratify pod.
And so we don't monitor that. So the change is just to monitor it, and you have a 60-second delay.
So the change is to so the secret itself, if it's updated, the volume mount will remount the new version into Ratify automatically. The changes for the actual server instance to pick up from disk the new file that has changed because it was remounted.
Okay, so that's a file watcher.
Yes, that's the file watcher component. The second component, which is the 60 to 90 second delay, is that the Kubernetes secret itself, from when it gets updated to when the pod gets resynced and the volume is remounted into the pod, there's a 60 to 90 second delay there.
Okay. My thinking is we document this as a limitation, right? If somebody is rotating the Gatekeeper secret and immediately wants to do a pod deployment, that is the only time this actually would fail, even if that's my understanding, right? Like, is that correct?
So it would fail, yes, it would fail on admission for that. More specifically, it would fail for an audit, because audit is by default done around, I think, 60 seconds. So one audit interval might fail, but then once we have this change for the file watcher, the next one will succeed. So it's like a blip in the audit.
Okay.
But that requires to have the file watcher at least implemented. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe if I can ask E, because he's working on this end-to-end experience for Ratify. if you can go and take a look and investigate, get some data about Gatekeeper, how often they do that, what is the impact, in order to actually identify whether. My thinking right now is, do we need to do this for public preview, or do we need to actually do it for GA? And what is the approach that we need to take for GA in order to be like, from experience point of view, to be easy for the customer, right? So if we can get a little bit more data about how customers are changing those certificates, how often, and so on. So I hope that Gatekeeper has some information about that, or AKS has some information about that.
Yeah, question for Akash. I'm guessing the file watcher is not too complicated to implement, right?
It shouldn't be, because we have some experience with the config map. We did the same thing pre-CRD, and actually Kubernetes, their runtime controller manager has does a similar thing for their TLS cert and key. So they have like existing logic we can base our implementation off too. So
can we pull in the file watcher for preview? I would hesitate to kind of like say we don't support any cert rotation, but there is a blip in the cert rotation is probably an easier statement rather than, oh, we don't do any cert rotation. Because the cluster gets kind of like, but even the worst case is you have to restart it. But a 60-second audit failure is probably even a better message rather than a restart. So yeah, I think I'm leaning towards what Louis is saying. Let's get a file watcher in if possible. But does it deprioritize anything else that we have?
So how are we? I guess it deprioritizes maybe high availability, but I don't know how. I don't think we have anything. I don't think we have anything critical for this for preview.
It is the GA criteria is what I was hoping.
Right. Yep.
Thanks, Singh, for bringing this, by the way. I know he's not on the call, but I think, oh, he is on the call. Okay. So good.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so I guess it seems like we'll like to prioritize the file watcher, and then the 60 to 90 second delay we can document. Potentially have like an issue to tackle down the line.
sounds good. I'll move forward.
What would be an ideal solution in this, by the way, if we?
So ideal solution is we implement a controller that will automatically apply a annotation to the Ratify pod once there's been an update to the secret. So it's watching the secret, and then once in the reconciliation process, because it's a controller, it'll apply a annotation to the pod, forcing a sync of the pod, causing an immediate remount to the volume.
So what I'm understanding is that for all cert rotation and in the real world scenario, we always first rotate clients so that clients can accept new certificates. Why is Gatekeeper rotating the cert before all external data providers are actually updated? Is this a design flaw on our side, or is there something inherent of how it's done? We always publish the new cert bundle before servers would start rejecting an old bundle or anything.
That's a good point. I mean, that's something that also part of what is gonna follow up with Gatekeeper. What's their
this is not only our problem, right? Like anybody writing an external data provider needs to be notified that Gatekeeper is going to use a new bundle. And yes, you give time. I mean, we have done certain Azure rotation enough, right? So this is how we roll the bundle first, let all the clients know, and then we switch over to the mutual auth bundle. So it seems like we're trying to fix something that is backwards, like notifying the client immediately and getting immediate consistency seems to be a wrong pattern. Anyway, so let's follow up on that before we kind of like start work on this. And maybe it's update the clients first and then go for the servers might be the model that we come up with.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to sort of understand a little bit better how certificate rotation happens for Gatekeeper in general.
Yeah, because I'm not understanding what the final solution is here. I get that we have to update the bundle and we get as little gap as possible, but it still doesn't mean that it's a zero gap. There's no guarantee that the client is updated before the server starts using the new authentication. So this is mutual TLS. This is MTLS between Gatekeeper and Ratify, right?
Yes.
And Gatekeeper is going to use a different cert at that point in time.
Yeah, yes, they've rotated their CA, generated new TLS certain key, and then they're using those when sending their request.
The notification is in the inverse order, then the clients need to be notified first.
Yeah.
Clients should be able to accept dual certs, and then the server can switch over at some point in time. I think that's the pattern I've seen before. So
yeah, I that makes sense. I'm not sure exactly what is the exact scenario when they rotate the cert. One of the Gatekeeper maintainer CertTech, he had pointed us to this, like you might run into this issue with 60 to 90 seconds. This is how another project solved it, but I'm not sure if they have other guidance on some other notification pipeline they've have or.
yeah, I think cert. I mean, multi-cert authentication, like that seems to be. Let's follow up on why Gatekeeper is doing this way before we fix anything.
Okay, so anything else on this, Akash?
Nope. I think I'm still looking into the whole file watcher part, so I'll continue working on that.
Got it. And then so we discussed the cache unification during the last community meeting. Any updates? I know you want to do a code review on the Monday series, right?
Yes. So I think the PR is in good form for a first review. So I'll spend all of Monday in the PR review meeting, if that's okay, to just discuss that, go over the different components that have changed. There's a lot of changes. So if anyone wants to get a head start on it before the Monday meeting, that'd be great.
Cool. Yeah. So you'll be the agenda for Monday. Make that. Okay. Let's see. Somebody added add a new cert store for HashiCorp Vault.
Actually, this topic was added by me, Damon.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thurman.
Yeah, Luis, could you please help to open that link? I can quickly provide some context about this issue.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, you may already know that Notation is adding a new KMS plugin, which is HashiCorp Vault KMS plugin. I think this plugin will be available to use with Notation in upcoming months. We plan to deliver this plugin after Notation v1.0. So users will be able to sign OCA artifacts using the signing key stored in HashiCorp Vault. This is a general context about the HashiCorp Vault support from the Notation side. So back to Ratify, in the verification process, Ratify certificate store currently only support reading the certificate from the inline cert store or AKV, Azure Key Vault cert store. This is the current design. And if the HashiCorp Vault cert store could be added to Ratify, it would be super helpful for users to use Notation and Ratify in on-premises end-to-end scenario and extend the Ratify ecosystem. We had a discussion with Bing. If we want to support this new certificate store, it requires additional development. We will need to modify the Ratify core component and source code to support this new cert store. Then users will be able to configure the cert store in the verification process. Yeah, currently we have the configurations defined in those two YAML files, the inline source store or AKV source store YAML file. But before we configuring those two YAML files, we need to modify the Ratify source code to add a new source store in that config folder. So the general request would be adding a new source store for HashiCorp Vault KMS. And another follow-up suggestion would be rethink the pluggable design when adding and managing this kind of external plugins to Ratify. This is another follow-up suggestion that I added in the second section, the second question.
Got it.
And recently, HashiCorp voting and HashiCorp employees also contact us to attend their HashiConf. So we want to deliver this end-to-end experience and demo this kind of workflow to HashiCorp ecosystem users in their HashiConf. So I think this request is an important but not that urgent.
When is the HashiCorp Conf?
Is October. It will be hosted in the middle of October, I remember. And Lucky will represent us to attend HashiConf and demo this end-to-end workflow.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is actually like it would be a new feature request. It would be interesting to get some data as to like, is the adoption for HashiCorp high?
At least in notation side, we received multiple users asking for this. You know, users are using the cloud and users are using hybrid cloud, including maybe Azure, AWS, and on-premises environment. So in their own environment, most of folks are adopting HashiCorp Vault KMS plugin to sign, to store their certificate. So from the signing perspective, notation will support it firstly. So we are considering how can we support verification from the Ratify side.
Right. No, I mean, I understand. So this would be like a scenario we would need to support. I think that discussion here is, when do we want to deliver this? How does this tackle against other priorities? I think it's nice that you open an issue here so that we can actually like have that conversation in the issue and figure out kind of what would be a good timeline. Yeah. Yeah, let's follow up on the issue in terms of the importance and when do we want to deliver. I mean, obviously, like it would be nice to deliver by October when Lucky would be presenting. So let's have that conversation there. We need to understand a bit more kind of in talking with Bin kind of what would be the cost of adding this and things like that. But yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Payman.
Yeah, I think we have a follow-up question that we might need to have an initial discussion in this meeting. You know, like this scenario, we want to add a new source store or a new plugin, external plugin to Ratify. We will need to modify the Ratify core component to support a new source store. So we are thinking if it is possible to provide a pluggable design in Ratify when adding and managing external plugins, so that users can, if we can design and provide a flexible interface so that others can contribute and develop this plugin by themselves and without modifying Ratify core component or core source code to support that external plugins. I think Bin might have more context since we had a discussion before. I think the general goal is to provide a open and flexible interface for others to develop this component, this plugin and we don't need to modify any core component in Ratify to support those external plugins.
Yeah, I guess we want to make it like the Verify store plugins, so we don't need to like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's what we're hearing is basically there will be other search stars in the future that we will want to support. How can we make this in a more pluggable way so that anyone can come and add their own favorite flavor of certificate store?
Yeah, correct. So in this issue specifically, you know, if we have this kind of design, Ratify will be able to verify artifacts using the certificate stored in a new search store, and users just need to add a new, for example, search store HashiCorp Vault YAML file in the config folder to support this kind of scenario. We don't need to modify the Ratify source code in advance. This is what we are requesting for this scenario.
Makes sense. Yeah, so I think then the issue here would be more of a build a pluggable model for supporting different certificate stores, and HashiCorp might be our sort of POC for this model, since it's kind of one of the ones that we want to do first. But yep, let's have more discussion on the issue as well, and we can chat more in the coming community meetings on how we can design this.
Sure.
Thank you, Feynman. I'll put it as a, yep, okay. All right, so I think that's all the items we have for the agenda today. Anyone else has anything they want to bring up? No. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Luis.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.